What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Carbon, and today I'm back again, and this time I am sharing my best settings for cutting traffic, whether you're a part of the no Hesi experience or you're in push and P servers or any other servers that involves cutting traffic. For me, this is the best settings in order to cut traffic, as close to other cars as possible while maintaining a constant speed. Now, the first thing I would suggest is downloading Comfy Map. Now, I will leave a link down to everything below that requires links. And Comfy Map is going to be, I'd say, one of the most important. This is going to show an entire map of whatever track you're racing on, whether it's SRP, 415, Nordschleife, anything. It's going to have all of the spawn locations. It's also going to show you other drivers and their live position inside of the track. This is the larger version of Comfy Map. It'll come with two. Now, I keep the larger version on the top right of my screen at all times. I mean, you can keep it wherever you like, but I do keep it there, and it's for quick spawning. Comfy Map will also come with a smaller version. Now, this version will stay locked onto you at all times at about this distance. I mean, you can set the distance if you like, but basically, with this map following you, it'll tell you if somebody's coming up behind you that might ruin your run. Maybe you're coming up behind somebody that you have to be aware of. These are very important, at least for me. Maybe if I crash and I know that nobody is coming up behind me, I can just continue on. But if I know somebody's coming up behind me, I will quick press a button to return back to pits, which is another setting I'm going to be going through if you haven't had that installed already. Now, of course, you're going to want a speedometer because, in no Hesi, you can't go below 60 mile an hour or 95 kilometers per hour. So it is a good idea that if you're not using a first person camera that sees the dash and what speed you're going, to use a speedometer. Now, these down here are just for my personal. You don't really need these. These are just showing like my frame rates, my pedals, and the different functions that car have, such as ABS, traction control, and so on. Another big feature that I'm going to be going over is how to remove the yellow flags and other flags that happen to show up here and can cause an immersion break. Really fucking annoying. Right now, you have the little circle one, but that's just because I'm in the pits. As soon as I were to start driving down the track, this circle would go away. Another little helpful tip that I have is knowing that you have F11 as a virtual camera. I like having a virtual camera, especially when you're driving proximity. I like to know how the person is doing right behind me. This is also a button that you can completely attach to your steering wheel, like a hotkey. It doesn't seem to work for my Moza R5 because there is no direct setting for what button you want for a virtual mirror. It's just F11, and my Moza wheel won't let me change specific buttons to certain buttons on a keyboard. Like I can't change a button to F11 on my steering wheel, but I know it does work for Logitech wheels, as I used a Logitech wheel before Moza, and I was able to bind my triangle key, because it was a PlayStation version, to a virtual mirror setting. But yes, F11 can change, or can at least pop up a virtual mirror for you. Now, my favorite setting that I like to go over with other people is an onboard setting. Now, this is to edit your first person view where you are behind the steering wheel and you can see the dash. Now, I'm a huge fan of this camera mode strictly for immersion, but if I'm going for a high score, long run, no Hesi point system, type of run, then I'm going to be, well, give me a second. All right, I'm back after being kicked. To reiterate, this is the onboard settings. It'll be on the right side of your menu. If it's not in the immediate right side of your menu, just go to the all apps, and towards the bottom, at least for me, it is the onboard settings. Looks like a little helmet. Once you have that open, what I like to do is immediately start moving the camera to the left to the most center position possible. Now, usually there's different identifiers within the car that let you know where the direct center is, but even if you don't get it right in this instance inside the car, you'll be able to line it up later. But I usually line it up with a logo on the bottom of my monitor, so I know that that's the exact middle. I'll get a good guess. You start to move up to above the car on the hood. For me, this is absolutely the best setting for seeing traffic that's coming up ahead, especially if you're following somebody. You're able to kind of predict what they're going to do by seeing what traffic is up ahead, because if you're just in the cockpit view, really you can only see the direct car in front of you, and then you can't see what's in front of them. So once you're at the top of the hood, you can go ahead and pitch the seat down. I like to pitch it all the way down as far as it'll go, and that's about -14. Now, the rest is up to you. I kind of like to line up the bottom parts of the hood here with the roof, and then this little corner right here will meet with the bottom of the screen. Now you can also go higher with it for a little bit more of a view, and that would also increase your field of view. This will make it a little bit easier to tell how close you can pass to cars. This is one of my absolute favorite camera modes anytime I am going for a long run. Just to give you an example, I'm going to drive down the road a little bit. Oh, well, maybe not. Maybe I'm not. Even this car's got no traction control. I've never driven this car before. All right, now that I am a little bit down the road here, you're able to kind of tell, at least for me, that I'm able to get a lot closer to these cars with some comfortability, knowing that I'm not going to hit them, but I am coming very close. And just having this camera angle really helps keeps you centered. You can kind of ride that white line and just bounce between it. And that will be the onboard camera settings that I would suggest. You can tweak this any way you like. If you like the camera mode, you can go ahead and click save. And the next time you drive this car and this car only, the camera will be saved. Now, if you want to go back to the cockpit view, you can just hit reset. It'll bring it back, and as long as you don't hit save again, the next time you load into the game, it'll go back to the on the roof camera view, as long as you don't save. But for immersion, I like to be able to, reset back to this cockpit view every once in a while. All right, for the next tip or setting is to absolutely get rid of the annoying yellow flag that is always popping up on the top left of your game. Now, you can get rid of all flags or just the yellow flag, but in order to do this, you have to go into your executable file where Assetto Corsa is. Then you'll want to go to Content, GUI, Flags, and find the yellow one and just delete it. Or you can delete all of them if you're not a huge fan of flags and you don't even much care about them. Even if you're just racing in Assetto Corsa and don't like the flags, just get rid of them. Maybe keep the checkered flags so you at least know, it's the final, lap. You're crossing the finish line. But that should get rid of that for you. It was a huge annoyance for me. I am glad to have gotten rid of it. The next setting I would like to go over and suggest will be under Settings, Custom Shaders Patch, and then Car Instruments. This is one of my big annoyances with other people inside of Assetto Corsa servers. You see this setting right here, use high beams mode by default. That is usually just on. Your game just has this on. Go in there, uncheck it, and then now your brights won't be on by default every time you go into a server. Now, people following me inside of these servers, they'll have their brights on, and it just ruins it for me because they are way too bright. I'll just end up resetting or find a way to let them pass without screwing up my own run. So please uncheck this, save it, and don't ever check it again. Next setting we are going to be going to is going to prevent the pit menu from always being up in your face when you are in the pits. And that is just by going to Custom Shaders Patch, then General Patch Settings, and then select Stop Assetto Corsa from using D-pad in Quick Pits menu. And for those of you that like having the pits because it gives you the option to start messing with your car, unless you're messing with your car after every single run, you can always just hit escape, go to pits, and then you are able to access every part of the pits that you will need, whether tires, alignment, fucking pit stop strategy, etc. I mean, I'm not one to really use this much. Sometimes I'll change the tires, but that's about it. Another setting that we'll get into is changing a car's mode. Now, I didn't know that most cars had this option until just recently, because under Assetto Corsa settings and under controls on the first buttons page, there will be an MGU-K. Now, the increased delivery button, which I've set to a specific button on my steering wheel, will change cars from an anti-lag mode to a track mode to a sport mode, because a lot of different cars have different modes, and sometimes those modes are better than the default modes. So just by having this button, if you're somebody that drives a car, one specific car driving all the time, and it happens to have options, or you're someone like me who seems to drive a different car every time they're going into Assetto Corsa, I like to see what modes that this car will have. Now, as mentioned earlier, it is always good to have a button set up on your steering wheel or just somewhere that you can quickly hit, so that if you're in the middle of a crash and then you don't want to, fuck someone up that's driving behind you, then you want to quickly press a button, reset back to pits, and that is going to be in the settings, Assetto Corsa, controls, under system, and then under race, you will see teleport to pits, and then you will just bind that to a button on your keyboard. Another tip that I will share is under rain effects, which is under the custom shaders patch, and then rain effects. Now, this is only if you have rain enabled for your Assetto Corsa. It is a paid mod, but one of the biggest annoyances is that if you're driving in any other view besides the cockpit view, so for example, a chase camera third-person view, rain will actually accumulate on the screen, and you can actually change if you want small drops or large drops or no drops at all. For me personally, I don't drive third person a lot, but for the little bit of the immersion, I actually will keep the rain effects drops on the screen, but I just make them small. I would suggest just disabling them altogether. And then I do the same thing for the chase camera. I do the same thing for the car camera. And then the free camera, I just kind of leave that at large drops because I'm never really in free camera. But this will be, specifically for you and how you like to have your rain effects. I personally don't like raindrops, but for immersion and recording, I'll keep them small. But yeah, that's all I really have for you guys as far as immediate tips for cutting traffic. If you have any questions, concerns, or anything, let me know down in the comments below. Maybe you want some of my personal settings, my graphic settings. I will make another video for that, and also have links for my settings so you guys can just copy them on over to your game, because as you know, Assetto Corsa has the craziest amount of settings for a simulator, and as much as I hate it, I love it. But until next time, guys, I hope you enjoy. Peace!